Hi, this is Tom from Svedonza. So in the past, we used to have a lot of difficulty explaining to devs who had never used middleware before what it is and why it's so powerful. And even if you look online, most of the resources are geared towards the people who are actually going to use them, which is audio people and not devs. Now, I know we're not the only ones who have had this problem before, and so I thought it might be helpful to make a video breaking down what audio middleware is and why audio people always want you to use it. And before you ask, this works in Godot, Unreal, and Unity at least, if not other engines, and it works for both Wwise and Fmod. So hi devs, let's talk middleware. So the best way to think about middleware is it's an incredibly powerful workflow tool. You can do pretty much everything you could do in middleware with straight code, but things that might take weeks of programming could take a day in middleware. And this even applies to very experimental stuff. We had a game where you had to rewind and fast forward at different speeds, and we had to figure out how to make the sound play at the right time, play halfway through the sound, play forwards and backwards. And at the end of the day, we did that with Wwise and a bit of math that I explained in a 60-second video, which you can see somewhere over here. So how does it work? There are three main things you need to know about: events, banks, and other parameters, which is not as complicated as it sounds. So this is an ambience I've made in Fmod, and it's got a bunch of logic attached to it. It's got some random instruments playing sounds kind of on your left and right ear, depending, just at random. And that's all going to get packaged inside of an event. So the easiest way to think about an event is it's kind of like calling a method in your code. You've already laid out all the expected behavior, and now you're just saying, initialize this event and start all that behavior. So these events are then all going to get packaged into banks, or sound banks if you're using Wwise. Bank is basically a package that holds a bunch of events and all the necessary information that they need in order to trigger properly with whatever logic you've set up inside them. So the procedure to get your sound to play would be to load this bank here and then play the event, either by creating an event object and then just writing one line of code to make it happen, or writing a few more lines of code to make it happen entirely in your script. And that's basically it. The last detail is those other parameters, which is basically just any other information that you need to tell Wwise or Fmod about your game in order for it to run its systems. So let's say that you have a sound that is dependent on the player's health points. Well, you might want to be communicating how many health points the player has to Wwise in real time. These have different names, but they generally take the form of either discrete states. So over here, I'm switching between a boss fight and this Oasis area music, or you can have a sliding scale. Like here I have intensity, and I can slide all along it, and there's expected behavior along that scale. So let's say that you've loaded your banks, you've implemented your events, you've set up your parameters in the right way, and now I, as the audio person, decide that I want to take out all the sounds and replace them with new ones, because those are actually all placeholder sounds. And I want to make a bunch of changes to the mix and the spatialization, and I want to make a new event that plays only when you're at X amount of HP points on that new parameter that we made. Well, what you would need to do in order to adapt to those changes is you would need to, obviously pull from your source control, open up your engine, and then that's it. I'm not exaggerating. That's it. And that for me is the really massive benefit of middleware. You're removing almost all of the dependencies that the audio team will ever have, and you're giving them an interface that's much more comfortable to work in. And that's without mentioning things like the testing features that these things have that allows us to test scenes before they're even built in the engine. And the thing is, audio middleware is a software that is designed to remove a bunch of work from the dev backlog. Without middleware, if you want, say, a musical transition to land on the first beat of a song, my job is virtually the same, but your job is infinitely more complicated than the single line of code that it would take you to trigger an event. So if you stuck around this long, thank you. I hope this video was helpful. I hope it gives you a better idea of what middleware is, what it can do, and maybe whether it's right for you. And if you want to check out that video on the time rewinding thing or anything else that we do, go check out our webpage, or you can follow us here or do all the subscribing stuff and everything else. Peace.